Hi everyone, I want to talk about intercultural relationships, and this one I'm talking about in terms of romantic relationships because this is actually something that I feel like I encounter a lot when it comes to students that I teach, and so I really want to just emphasize some things that I've learned that might be able to help you if you are pursuing an intercultural relationship. So we'll get into it. So I have actually been in several of these intercultural relationships, and as a multilingual and as an interracial person, is that I am very much attracted to things that are different from me. I just feel like it's kind of boring. Some people may actually have different opinions, but I'm just like, especially being someone who speaks 10 languages and having been different places around the world, and really teaching about language and culture, is that I just feel like it's boring to be with someone who is of the same race, of the same culture, they speak the same, I don't know, that's just my opinion. So in all fairness, is that I know that I've always just been interested in what's different from me, and I feel like in a relationship I want to grow, and I want to really be able to learn from the other person, if that makes any sense. So and I just feel like sometimes if you're not growing and if you're not learning from another person, then I feel like there's no point. And because I like being mentally stimulated, if you didn't notice already. So I just want to discuss some different aspects that I've encountered that I really want to make sure that you guys keep in mind if you are pursuing an intercultural relationship. So the first thing I really want to bring up is that there can be some aspects that can be a deal breaker for you. So there's certain aspects of certain cultures you may not like. One of the reasons why my relationship ended with this guy from Germany was because I just did not like the brutally honest part. I'm a very sensitive person. I can handle criticism when it's given a certain way, and I can handle that professionally. But when it comes into a personal relationship, I like a more gentle approach. And I just kind of like, to me, from my American perspective, maybe I was just like, I don't really like how you talk to me. So that aspect is that I just really didn't like that. And that doesn't mean that I'm like never going to date a German ever again. It just means that relationship ended because that was a quality that I didn't like. And I wouldn't say that all Germans are just going to be like brutally honest, where they're just going to be mean to you or anything like that. I wouldn't say it like that. That's just part of who they are. And I would say that I can confirm from a few different people who've told me, yeah, that's the German way. We are just brutally honest. We're very direct. Not so much as just brutally honest, but just very direct about how they feel, and that's just normal. And they kind of take it that way, But in America, I just feel like depending on how you say it, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that to me. So there's certain qualities that, you may realize that may not be for me. Sometimes, like I said, it can vary, and I don't want anyone thinking that I'm stereotyping. That's just something that was a quality that came up. And not to mention anybody can be that way. Knowing what qualities of certain people that may work. Some people really like that. They're like, I like brutally honest people. I don't care if it's harsh, just tell me the truth. Which I get that. And that's, like I said, that's personal preference. But like you have to be aware that there might be some things that they do or their family does, or that just might be a little uncomfortable to you, or you may not like. So, which is just the same thing in any relationship. There's always going to be things you don't like. But there's, like I said, there's only so much you can put up with. A relationship is a relationship, So the other thing is that, are you willing to be prepared for situations where you may not be able to use your native language? And I get this a lot because of my students. When I think I was teaching someone, she actually is married to a German. And so she was learning German from me, just for the aspect of, being able to communicate with her in-laws and that part of her family. And so, being able to be in an environment where it's like I actually know what's going on. I had another student who's learning French because she's with a guy who's from Clermont-Ferrand. And for people who are not familiar with that area, that is a city that is way further south than of Paris. So completely different dialect than what you would be learning as standard, because most people learn the Parisian dialect, which I honestly think that's kind of, I don't know, for me, that's just like, it's a good start, but it's kind of like limiting when there's a whole bunch of different aspects of different dimensions of France. But I digress. So, being able to, she's like visiting his family, and it's like, okay, they're talking, they're laughing. I don't really understand what's going on. It kind of takes you out of that. It takes you out of the ability to communicate with the other people. Are you willing to be comfortable being in situations where they're going to be speaking a different language and you're just like, I have no idea whether you're willing to learn that. One of the things I personally like is being in a relationship where I can actually they speak to me in their language, especially if it's a language I don't know, because I'm like, I don't care what language you speak, especially if it's not of the ones that I know. Just say what you want to say and then just tell me what it means, because over time you'll pick that up, especially depending on how deep you are into this relationship. So also, I would just say is you're going to want to be prepared to ask a lot of questions, because there's going to be a lot of things you may not understand. Like, what did your parents mean when they said that? What did your friend say? Like translation questions, but more than anything, it just might be cultural questions. Like, one of the things I used to ask I used to ask one of my friends, actually, this is non-romantic, but, off topic, but I remember I had a roommate in college and he was from Mexico, and I used to ask, like, do you guys do this? I know, like, I think around like November, like I think I came to visit him for Day of the Dead weekend. And I remember saying, like, okay, like, what should I do and not do while I'm here? Especially if you're in their home country, you really want to ask questions about, like, just because for safety reasons. Like, I found out from my friend that, he's like, don't take a taxi, just take a Uber. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. And so when it comes to these things, is that you have to keep in mind that, especially when you're in foreign territory, they're the expert. And so you're going to ask a lot of questions. And also it can be appreciated, in a way, because it's like this person that I'm in a relationship wants to get to know who I am, wants to know where I'm from, especially because we can't avoid who we are. We can't avoid where we come from. So especially with, my relationships that I've been in, they would have the same issue if they were to come to America. Even though in America, it just feels like, we're everywhere. But at the same time, it's still going to be a cultural issue. Or not an issue, but it's just something that's going to come up, asking those questions. Because they might be confused about why you do certain things. Why are you doing them? I remember even like when I was in Germany, again, totally not related to relationships, but I remember my host dad saying that, he's like, oh, like, you speak English, you can teach the girls, but you also speak German because my parents are coming over to visit. And I'm going to be honest with you, they don't speak English. So if you didn't speak German, they wouldn't talk to you. And that's kind of the same instance. Like, you would be missing out on knowing, like in a relationship, you would be missing out on getting to know your in-laws. You'd be missing out on getting to know people that are a part of your partner's family. Other thing to look at is like religion, because I know in some cultures, religion can be kind of married with that. And so that can be I honestly think that there are a lot of interfaith relationships that actually work. For me, honestly, I guess this goes down to personal preferences, because I was in a relationship with someone who was from India. He was from Gujarat. And I remember his family, he would express to me that at some point, that his family was really wanting him to marry an Indian woman. And obviously, he was of a different faith than me. And so for me, that was kind of a non-negotiable long term, because as much as I am intercultural and I'm into, being around other people, but like the thing is that I am very, and I'm not very, shy about it. I'm not trying to convert anyone, but the thing is that I'm very open about the fact that I am of Christian faith, and that is important. I don't care where you come from. I don't care who you are. But the thing is that Jesus has to be in the house. Some people, they're okay with that. They're okay with, intermingling faiths, and that's up to you. But I noticed that that's kind of like borders down to like boils down to like non-negotiables. So like, what are you willing to accept and what you're willing not to accept? So personal preferences. I feel like this also doesn't really just apply to the US. There are different countries that may have different relationships, where even when I was in Paris, at one point when I was studying, I remember going to church and there was this couple. They were, I think one of them, I think she's got like, she's, of course she speaks French, but she has like some like Spanish and Portuguese in her family history. And the person that she was with, I believe he was Indian descent. So it doesn't have to be like an American person. It won't always just be English, especially when you're living in areas or cities where there's a huge diverse population, and intermingling is just going to happen. So I hope this gives you some tips if you're in a relationship with someone. I hope this helps you become more intimate with them when it comes to getting to know them a little bit more on a deeper level. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope it was helpful, and I'll talk to you later.